Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, across all platforms. This is the Gaming Tangents Podcast. Woo! Woo!
Woo!
That's excitement. Can you feel it?
Oh, yeah.
Feel the excitement in the air and the echoes. That's right. This is the sister show, an official podcast, pardon me, of the, what?
Of the
cross-platform show, yes. Coming to you soon, YouTube web series that we are currently working on. This is the podcast where we talk about gaming's past, present, and future, and do our best to try and stay on track for an hour. I'm Menji.
I'm Maverick.
How are you?
I am exhausted. I've been working, then working, and working. And that's about all I've been doing. I work the weekend.
Well, I hope you're getting paid in the middle of that somewhere.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Learning a new program, so it's been very frustrating.
Oh man, yeah. I don't want to learn more new softwares, but I feel it's going to be in my future as well.
Oh yeah, I got two, and they're both Adobe programs.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can't escape Adobe. Once that word art hits your job title somewhere, it's always going to be Adobe something.
Oh, I know.
Speaking of which, I'm starting new classes next month online.
Nice. What are you going to be doing?
So I put in for the Schoolism Kickstarter. So Schoolism is an online art school, not unlike some of those online animation schools like I'm sorry. They're all slipping my mind right now. Like Animation Mentor, and places like that. And so they offer a bunch of different courses through the Kickstarter. You just pay once, and it covers you for a year subscription. And so they got a bunch of pre-recorded courses from people like Steven Silver, who is somebody I really like. I'm sure you've seen me post his YouTube videos before. He's the guy who did character designs on like Kim Possible, the Clerks animated show, stuff like that. And a bunch of other people, some really great painters, like digital painters and other creature designers and stuff like that. So I'm going to try and knock out a few of those courses throughout these next 12 months and see if I can't get myself back out of this grind and into the other grind that I wanted to go to.
Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
I'm excited.
Hopefully everything will work out. I can't say I'm doing anything elaborate like that.
Well, you're trying to get your foundation reset.
Yeah, pretty much. This is probably the reboot of the reboot because of life. But
life. So that's the important thing. I've got my foundation set, luckily, which is why I've finally been able to do this. I mean, Lord knows it took me 6 years to get to this point where I can finally do stuff like this again. So.
Dude, don't say that. 6 years, that sounds like a long time.
Hey, man. It's all just time is relative, man. It don't matter.
I guess not.
You can't own time. It'll all come in due time.
In time. Got it.
So, what this podcast is and was is kind of a trailing off of our unofficial first episode, which also turned out to be our first Halloween episode, in which we ended up talking a lot about a company that was once a favorite of both of ours.
Oh, yeah.
You know them as
Ultra Games.
Konami. Ultra Games. Yes. That famous company known for I wouldn't say the worst Ninja Turtles game ever, but a lot of people really hate it for some reason.
I kind of like it.
I have very fond memories of that game. I think ever since James Rolfe came out with that video, everybody was kind of went like, hey, wait, yeah, that game did suck.
Yeah.
I was like, I really liked that game. What else did we have at the time on the home console?
There's nothing.
Nothing.
Like, oh, it's like, awesome, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Why isn't this the arcade game?
Yeah, there was a little bit of that, but at least it was different enough to where you're like, okay, it's not trying to be a bad port of the arcade game. It was its own game, and so that was fine.
Right.
With walking fire guys.
Yeah.
Like in the show. In the show, they always had the guy walking around on fire.
Or saving dams. I'll tell you what, though. That damn music. It's. I like it. That's actually one of my favorite chip tunes out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. You know, oddly enough, I was watching one of the newer Ninja Turtle episodes today, and Donatello had to defuse a bomb, so I thought that was quite appropriate.
That's another show I need to get into. I'm not a fan of the look, but I did see a couple of episodes.
You know, it's funny. It really grows on you, and after a while, you look back at the old show and be like, "Wow, those guys look really cartoony."
Yeah, it's so hard for me to get into it because of the look of it, and I mean, there's a bias to that in general because you get used to a certain style of animation.
I had that same bias.
Yeah, and
I know exactly where you're coming from. Here, let me put it this way: this is, to me, what Buffy was to you.
Good point. There you go.
Where I was just like, I refuse to watch this show. It's going to be crappy. And now, about every 2 years, I tend to run a marathon of Buffy.
as
not afraid to admit that.
As you should.
As most grown heterosexual men do.
Hey, I don't mind going back and taking a look at non-high school Buffy.
Yeah, no, it's great. But no, show's good. Watch the show. It'll grow on you.
Yeah.
Especially when you realize what the show is. Not that this is a Ninja Turtle podcast all of a sudden, but basically it's an amalgamation of everything that has been.
Right.
So it mixes in stuff from the comics. It mixes in stuff from the original show. It mixes in a little bit of stuff from the last iteration, but not so much. And it actually takes a lot of influence from the movies as well, which I thought is pretty cool. And even the games. There's a little bit of the games in there.
Yeah, everybody keeps telling me about Turtles in Time, so I'm curious.
Yeah, there's an episode called Turtles in Time. Yeah.
I'm curious to know what that's about.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll catch a lot of references because I know you're a pretty big Turtles fan like I am, so you'll catch a lot of references to older stuff if you watch it. Like, the people that made that show really do care about the Turtles and actually are trying to kind of do it justice more than just making it a platform to sell toys.
Right.
This time.
Right.
Not to say that the original show was bad because it was a platform for selling toys. Out of all the toy cartoons that we had, it was one of the best.
Yeah.
Lord knows it's still here, so...
Well, yeah.
They did something right.
With the game Turtles in Time, still pretty... still pretty popular to this day. I mean, it's aged really well.
Games?
In my opinion.
You wanted to talk about games on this podcast?
Yeah.
All right, fine. We can do that.
Yeah, Konami games.
Konami games. So Konami definitely taken a lot of heat and fire over the last few months.
Well, yeah, because they're
doing a bit of a purge. I think they'll probably eventually refer to it as the Konami purge. Because, oh my gosh.
Well, everybody was complaining that there wasn't enough pachinko machines. And
you would think they weren't, but go to Japan and this one block doesn't have a pachinko parlor yet. We need more machines.
Right? And
I don't know.
And what's sad about it is, and I didn't do my research, but off the top of my head, from what I...
Not a research show. What are you talking about?
Kind of research. Yeah, I'll do it in the middle of work.
We're just shooting from the hip.
My understanding is that there was a particular cell phone game that kind of started this whole mess. And the new CEO, apparently there was a cell phone game that sold really well in Japan and made them millions of dollars, and it almost cost them nothing to make. And the new incoming president was like, hey, let's concentrate more on this, more dating sims, more, I don't think the game was a dating sim, but apparently, that's what led, oh my god, I cannot remember his name at the moment, but
Hideo Kojima?
Not Hideo Kojima. The dude who behind Symphony of the Night, oh my god, I cannot remember his name at the moment.
Hey, last time we recorded this, I'm the one that forgot his name.
Yeah. Was it Itaragi?
Yeah, Itaragi.
He left, I believe, over a situation. They put him on a dating sim game, and he was like, "Oh hell no!"
Yeah, what's? Do you know who I am?
Right.
Like,
So,
did they brief you before you took this job?
right. It's like, I made Castlevania, bitch.
Yeah.
Well, I kept the series.
I kind of carried this company on my back for a little while.
Exactly. And I think about it. The AAA producers and being was being what's the word I'm looking for? Just downgraded to this level of, hey, I'm going to work on this dating sim, and I mean, what an insult,
These are cutbacks.
Yeah.
I think he even jabs at that a little bit in his Kickstarter video.
I believe he did.
The game. I'm pretty. Now that you mentioned that, yeah, that sounds like something about AAA titles, and yeah. Oh my gosh, just like those are probably him, and like I just said, Kojima, probably two of the biggest superstars as far as game designers are concerned, at least Japanese game designers, pretty much outside of Nintendo. It's just those two and what's his face?
You forgot his name again?
Oh, I'm forgetting all sorts of names. No, not him. Mario.
Oh,
I see his face.
Oh, Shigeru Miyamoto?
There we go, Miyamoto. Yeah, like pretty much as far as Japanese game designers go, it's the three of them. And Inofune's on there too, I guess. So it's probably like four. This is pretty much a handful of Japanese game designers that are well known the world round.
Well, yeah.
Konami had two of them and literally gave them both the boot unceremoniously. And in Kojima's case, even worse,
right? As
they tried to erase all evidence that he was ever there in the first place.
Yeah, that was a little BS.
Like,
and
there was an argument. Like, that's like, knowing what I know about Japanese people, Kojima said something that the president felt was out of line, and so he was like, "Screw this guy! He doesn't work here, and he's not going to be here anymore, and he take his name off everything." Like, basically to disrespect the guy. Like, that's all it is. It's a big slap in the face, like on purpose. Like, not even like the company's trying to save face. Like, putting Kojima's name on anything will sell it.
Right. I mean, it frustrates me to hear that kind of stuff. It's almost like he said, it's like he came up to him and said, "What did you work on again? Who are you?"
Yeah, and I don't even know. Like that's the other reason why you can tell it's that it's a knee-jerk reaction is like they didn't think about the backlash that would cause. Like, nobody would notice that Kojima has suddenly disappeared off of everything that his name's ever been on.
Right.
And that he was all of a sudden, I'm not working at Konami anymore. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And we're all, wait, what? Like, nobody's going to question what happened to him?
Right. It's just, I don't know. That's
like,
well, I was about to say that's like telling Steven Spielberg to stop making Star Wars, but that actually happened. So bad analogy.
You mean George Lucas?
Or George Lucas?
Well, Steven Spielberg, yes, that would make that a very bad analogy.
It's one
Spielbucus.
It's one of the morning where I am.
That guy making the Star movies.
Okay.
Make him not make the Star movies anymore.
Yeah, let's make sure to cut this part out because I'm gonna look like an idiot on my first
no,
podcast.
It's staying, sir. It's in there. I marked it and everything. This is the highlights. This is going in the highlight reel at the end of the year.
Oh, funny.
Our flashback episode.
Yeah. I could just see me now.
Remember that time?
I could just see it now. Remember that time we talked about Steven Spielberg? Spielberg? I just tune everything out.
So Konami not quite in the best of light lately, but there was a time when they were the shining star on top of this video game mountain.
Exactly.
And we kind of want to reflect on the happier times.
Exactly. I mean,
because as far as we're concerned, they may never come back from this.
No, and that dashes my hopes of them ever releasing Sparkster on the Virtual Console. Yeah.
Yeah, like, are they like? Do you think they're just gonna hoard their IPs if they really just kind of stick to mobile and pachinko games?
I think so. I mean,
Well, I guess they said they were, because they're like, we're not letting Metal Gear go, but you're not also making console games, so like you're gonna have more like turn-based Metal Gear games on the phone, or what? What are you doing?
yeah, I don't know.
What are you doing? What's your plan?
The way I mean, just off the top of my head, what I can think of is that they will try to make more pachinko machines out of these IPs. They probably won't be as popular as they think they will be, and
No.
they'll either sit on it, or if they're smart, they'll at least sell it to somebody who's going to do something with it. But
Yeah, like.
Mm-hmm.
Like a smaller studio or something. Yeah, like.
But I don't see Sparkster ever making a comeback.
Or Sparkster.
Yeah, he's gonna have to. Well, he's gonna have to play dead for a long time.
Yeah. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe we should assume that people who don't play video games listen to this show. If you haven't, Sparkster is the sequel to an old 16-bit era video game called Rocket Knight Adventures, starring a possum knight with a rocket strapped to his back named Sparkster.
Mm-hmm. And it was an original, one of the few original Genesis titles to come out.
That's the neat story of it. It did actually start on the Genesis as Rocket Knight Adventures, which was an amazing game.
Yeah, I remember seeing the ads in EGM, and I remember seeing it at Blockbuster, and I was like, okay, I gotta rent this and see what this is about. And it ended up being my absolute favorite game on the Genesis.
Wait, so you're saying that you chose Rocket Knight over James Pond?
Well, James Pond was selling so well, I couldn't get a hold of it, so I was like, oh, I'll settle for the possum instead.
Oh, yeah, I know. They were having a run on those games.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, I forgot about James Pond.
Oh, anytime I think EGM ad for any kind of a mascot game, for some reason, I always go to that James Pond ad. Like, it is burned in my brain. I don't know why. I never, ever played those games. But I would stare at that ad going, what? Why does this ad not look interesting to me? As a kid, I was trying to break down this ad.
Yeah, I remember.
Visually, there is something here that is not working, yet I can't stop looking at this thing.
Yeah, I'm sure the ad got more looks than the actual game did. It just every time I looked at it, like, I would consider renting it, and then I just look at the back and I'm like, this doesn't look fun.
He had a sequel.
It had two sequels, I believe.
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess so did Bubsy, so.
Yes, Bubsy.
What can you? Anything's possible.
Well, I did have Bubsy on the Genesis.
You did. It was a gift.
Yeah, it was a gift. That's a story we will get into some other day.
The first one was halfway decent. Sparkster, on the other hand, and Rocket Knight Adventures, way beyond halfway decent.
Oh,
full decent.
Rocket Knight Adventures,
unadulterated decent.
Rocket Knight Adventures was just an amazing game overall. I just liked how different it was from all the other games I had seen at the time.
Yeah, it was a nice mix of like platforming with a little bit of like Sonic speed and some shooting.
Yeah,
like rail shooting, not rail shooting. Like over the head shooting.
Yeah, but then if you think about it, like there were the levels where he's actually in the not flying. He's not it's not like a side-scrolling stage or anything. Well, it's side-scrolling, but he's flying. He's not limited to just walking, and it's kind of like a space shooter.
Yeah, it was cool, and you could even use the rocket while you were platforming and get to parts of the stage that were unattainable with just jumping, and the limits were kind of limitless.
Yeah, I think that's what I like. Then, of course, the music. It's Genesis, and I know sometimes Genesis didn't put out the best sound, but Konami always kind of went above and beyond to make their game sound excellent. And I really love the soundtrack to the game too. It was just the presentation for the game was just so well.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, kind of like that. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they always kind of had a knack for that. Even going way back to the NES, I think probably some of the best music on the NES was typically from Konami games. And I think that was even more so for the Famicom as well, as they were able to kind of make use of the extra technologies that the Famicom had attached to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think,
go on.
Castlevania 3, I think, was it?
Yeah, Castlevania 3, actually, what they did was what it was that they were allowed to use their own, an extra chip that they were able to use on the Famicom. And it would allow them to kind of give a boost to the sound. And so if you play the Japanese version of Castlevania 3 compared to the American version, the Japanese one sounds a lot more superior. There are, because I played the American one first, of course, there are some tracks I prefer for the American version, but the majority of it sounds so much better in the Japanese version.
Yeah. Who would do that? Who would put on an extra chip on a game just for the music?
Right.
Especially back then, nobody really took it that seriously at that time. But Konami sure did. And again, going to the Genesis, taking Castlevania there with Bloodlines, that music is amazing. I can listen to it now and just move yes, I want to go around and whip shit.
You want to know the funny part about Castlevania Bloodlines is that with Bloodlines, I did not like the remixes for the original songs.
Really?
Yeah, if you can believe that. And the way they were utilized, I didn't like that. But
yeah, that's tough coming off the heels of Castlevania 4, because those remixes were awesome.
Well, yeah, they were all orchestrated and everything. Of course, Genesis couldn't produce that kind of sound, which is fine, because the Genesis was a beast. It was its own thing, of course. But some of the other music that they had in there, was great. I mean, that music for the last stage, especially. I mean, I love that music, and they did do a good job with the theme of Simon, which they only used so briefly. But then it was kind of better where they utilized it there, as opposed to, hey, I got a special whip, now let's play a special song.
Yeah. That was always my reasoning for getting the special whip, is just so I could get the music.
Right. Because I actually hated that whip.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just wanted the music, so that was cool.
But I actually like the music for Bloodlines a lot. With the exception of the first stage. I actually did not like the first stage music.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
you could take it or leave it.
Yeah, and funny enough, they used that song for the first level stage on Castlevania Rebirth. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was called the Castlevania Adventure Rebirth, and everyone said, "Oh, it's a remake of Castlevania Adventure," and I'm like, "Okay, this is interesting." I'm like, "This is just a totally new game," and just using the Castlevania Adventure title. The only thing they really kept in there was when you had a fully powered whip, you could actually launch little fireballs.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but other than that, it was it was its own thing. And one thing they did with these Rebirth games, including Contra and Gradius, is that they gave the soundtracks to that. And I remember discussing this with you, and you said you weren't much of a fan, but they gave it this arcade feel to it.
The music?
Yeah, the music. They were games that came out in 2009, but they sounded like arcade music from the early 90s and whatnot.
I'd have to hear it.
Yeah,
because that honestly sounds okay to me.
Yeah, I remember sending you one particular song. I actually think it was the one from Castlevania, and I remember you saying you didn't like it.
Oh, well, maybe.
Yeah.
That sounds like something I'd say.
So yeah, but especially Gradius. I know we're jumping like game to game, but like Gradius, there's a particular track. It's one of my favorite tracks called "Something Ghostly." It's from the second game, and I just love the way it was orchestrated for that game. And that's the only other Gradius game that makes use of that particular theme song. So Something Ghostly, if anybody's ever interested, listen to that. It's very eerie, but it's very cool at the same time.
Download it.
Yeah.
I mean, pay for it and then download it.
Right. So, but yeah, the music was one thing that Konami was very good at. And, you know, in some cases, like I said, they did have that arcade feel to it. And in other cases, they just did their own thing and just, well, everything was their own thing, but they always tried something different, and for the majority of it, it worked.
Yeah, you know what's still some of my favorite music as far as the 16-bit era is concerned is probably Mystical Ninja.
Yes. That music was
such good music.
Freaking
listen to that all the time.
Freaking awesome. I used to love that. But I can't think what was the stage. I think it was the 7th stage in particular. I remember when I first got that, I rarely ever went through the 7th stage because I had the Nintendo Atlas, and so I'd always cheat and go to the last stage. So one time I decided to go through the entire game, and I got to the 7th stage, and I was like, wow, this music is pretty serious for this game that's pretty freaking funny. I mean, it was like such a departure from like some of the other stuff. Like, there's even this theme song, which again, it sounds really serious, but then, like, unlike the 7th stage, this one, it doesn't sound goofy, but the events that are going on in there, you got all these clumsy ninjas trying to attack you. Like, they'll try to attack you with a sword and they'll get stuck in the floor, or they pile on top of each other and then they like trip and fall off over each other. I mean, it's hilarious. The music, well, it's so cool, but then you can't help but when you think about that particular tune, it's like, as serious as it sounds funny because all I can think about are the damn ninjas. So, yeah, Mystical Ninja had some really good tracks. And then, what was the other? I think we were discussing this last week with Mystical Ninja. The sideshow.
Right. So what was that story?
That story, okay.
This thing you couldn't get to.
Alright, so, in Mystical Ninja, if you read the instruction manual, it says that there's a sideshow there.
Yes.
And it says you don't want to know what goes on in the sideshow. I'm like, okay, well, I want to find this. So I get to the carnival levels.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Clearly I do.
Exactly.
Now that you've tempted me.
And I looked, and I think this is the reason why I went through the entire game, because I wanted to find this sideshow. And when I finally went through the entire game, I called Nintendo, and I called their little counselor, line, and said, "Where is the sideshow?" And the guy just, like, he was a jerk about it. He was like, "There is no sideshow." Like, what? But it's in the instruction manual. It's a mistake. There is no sideshow. You know,
man clearly bombarded with questions about the sideshow. He's reached his limit.
I guess so.
And here you are pushing him over the edge.
I drove him mad.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, well, thank you. I just wasted my mom's money on this.
That's okay, because now he's sitting in front of City Hall in rags, shaking a cup, going, sideshow. There's no sideshow. There's no sideshow.
Yeah.
Jingling change in a cup.
Everyone was like, what the hell is he talking about?
There's no sideshow.
But I finally looked this up, and I was like, okay, it had to be in the Japanese version. This was years later, when YouTube finally became available. Like, somebody has to have this on there. So I looked it up, and what it is, and I still can't remember the Japanese, and I think it's Ibisamaru, or or Dr. Yang. He does this little dance, and Kid Ying or Goemon is watching, and he does this dance and he splits into 4 people, and the big finale, Dr. Yang farts, and Kid Yang falls over.
As one naturally would.
Right, and that was it. And I guess Nintendo censors were like, nope, can't have this in the game.
They're trying to save us from all the farts.
Right, because that's the thing that's going to bring down society.
Yeah, although you know what, in a day and age where every other animated movie just lives on its fart jokes, I kind of appreciate it now.
Well, yeah, that is true, because it's gotten out of hand. But back then, I didn't, think anything of it. I mean, when I saw it, I was just like, okay, well, I get why they didn't do this. But when I was younger, I was like, what is so...
Oh, I'm still wondering why.
Yeah, look it up. Just I don't know what to type in, but you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah,
but yeah, then the game, it did not sell well enough to translate any of the other sequels there.
Which is sad because it sold well enough over there to keep going well into the PlayStation era.
Yeah, there were 3 more games on the Super NES. The series started in the arcade. I never knew this. The game goes as far back as the NES days. It was in the arcade. Then they had it on the Nintendo. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I've played an emulator of the Nintendo version. It's almost exactly the same game. I was kind of surprised. It was really well made.
Yeah, it's
for being 8-bit.
And see, I haven't played those, but then of course we got the first one on the Super Nintendo, and again, like I said, it warranted 3 sequels, and I know there was a PlayStation game, and I think there were like maybe 2 or 3, I'm not sure, on the PlayStation. And there was even a reboot. Jesus, okay, there was even a reboot on PlayStation 2. I think it was a reboot, which was more of like an adventure title.
Yeah, N64 had a few games too, I think.
Yeah, and the N64 actually got a release here in the US.
Oh, that's right, yeah. That is right. There you go. 2 sequels.
Yeah.
Out of 78 games.
Yeah, excuse me. So, there was that, and then there was even a Game Boy game that was released as well. Alrighty, so yeah. Mystical Ninja, I really wish it did a lot better. I will admit though that I did, I unfortunately had to do it through emulation. I don't encourage emulation. I know a lot of people prefer that, but I like the authentic system and console. The console and the game. But I did play 2 and 4 through an emulator, and I remember not liking them as much, and it was mainly because, like, we were just talking about Konami music, and the Konami, the music just felt a little more bland in part 2 and part 4. It just seemed bland to me, but I didn't go through enough of the game to see if it got any better. And as silly as it sounds, or not, maybe some people go by this, but one of the big factors for me in any game was the game's soundtrack. If it didn't have a good soundtrack, then I couldn't really play through the game.
No, I agree. I actually think we could probably do a whole episode on this. I feel the same way. Like, music can really make or break a game. That's one of the reasons why I don't like a lot of the newer Street Fighter games, is because the music is just kind of bleh.
Although with Street Fighter, I will say that pit stop music, my god, what an amazing track, and it doesn't fit the stage at all, but because it's at a bus stop, but...
Oh, see, I can't even, play... Is that for 5?
No, it's Street Fighter 4, it's the most recent edition,
Oh yeah, the Ultra, whatever.
Well, I like to call it Tekken Edition because they added all the freaking elements from Tekken in there. So,
oh, gross.
Well, not the game, not gameplay, but like stages.
The X Tekken stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I stopped it. Super Street Fighter 4, I think. And so there, apparently I would have had to wait a few more upgrades before I could get a decent song in there. Like, I don't remember any of those songs.
They had some decent songs. The Super Street Fighter 4 upgrade didn't have too many memorable songs. You could totally tell that it's a different artist doing the music.
Just kind of phoning it in.
Yeah, and it, again, kind of bland. There was only one particular song I liked on that, which was the construction stage song. But yeah, even this new one, you can tell again it's a different artist because they didn't utilize the music from Tekken Cross Street Fighter.
They probably can't.
Right. Well, no, they could for most of the stages because I don't recall any of them actually utilizing any Tekken music with the exception of one particular stage. But I'm glad that for the pit stop music they use this. I let you listen to it a couple of weeks ago, but just a beautiful piece of music. It sounds like it belongs in a Western or even like a Mexican, or I'm gonna say Mexico because
Oh, is that the one that sounded like it was Art of Fighting stage?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I remember this one now.
Yeah. Just a very memorable piece, and that's one I will blast in my car. Like, I love that track.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was a pretty good song.
But you know what else? Something else about Street Fighter?
Sure. While we're on the topic,
it's not Konami. So.
Oh yes, I did know that actually.
So.
But thanks for sharing.
But we will get into that. Yeah, because you're right. Gaming music really did influence like whether or not, and I guess for you too, it influenced whether or not we were going to enjoy the game.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It's kind of always something we've been into, though. Long before they even started releasing game soundtracks, at least here in the States.
Yeah.
We were recording music straight off the game just so that we could keep listening to it when we're not playing.
I remember that. With the blasting the music and putting the tape. Yeah, tapes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was definitely a big thing for us. And usually with Konami, you couldn't fail. Like, at least in the early days, I don't think there's really a Konami game I can think of that had bad music. Even the games that were considered bad games, like, going back to the Turtles game again, that game had some pretty good music.
Oh yeah, like I said, that damn music was awesome. When you go back, I mean, even we had talked about the Stinger, which in Japan, I only recently found out was Twinbee. And
right.
I still remember the music from that game, and I didn't even like that game. So
yeah.
But the music itself was really catchy.
Music's good. I don't know who doesn't remember the first stage in Contra.
Oh yeah,
right. Like that's a song that just like it gets you pumped for the rest of the game, and the rest of the game's music it's pretty good. But that first stage song just gets you going. It gets you right in the right mood to just run along and shoot as much shit as you possibly can.
Oh yeah, it was.
And then you're set for the rest of the stages.
Yeah, the soundtrack for Contra overall is great.
No, it's great. It is great. That one song, like they just nailed it with that song.
Oh yeah, no, that definitely pulls you in. Like you come in. I remember the first time I played that game, and I heard the music, and my cousins were playing it, and I asked her, I was like, what is this game? It's Contra, it's awesome. And this is my cousin who doesn't play video games at all anymore, and she was playing that one, and I played it, and I think I hogged it from her for the rest of the evening.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Hey, it was cool. And then later we found out we could steal lives.
Right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't remember fights like that?
Oh, I remember our biggest fight started over that.
Oh, most likely. I'm sure a lot of people did.
What the hell? What are you doing?
Stop stealing my lives! I hate you.
My other cousin did that with Jackal, because it wasn't just Contra. You could do that in Jackal. And he pissed me off so bad with that. I mean, to the point where I almost punched him. So, Konami knew how to break up families.
Yeah, making music to start fights.
Yeah, but there was what were some other games that had some really good music that I could think. I mean,
Goonies.
Oh, Goonies, yeah, definitely.
Goonies too. Like, I think it's kind of funny that I think a lot of people know the Goonies song more from the NES game than they do that there's an actual Cyndi Lauper song that it's based off of.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, because I had seen the Goonies, but I didn't remember it much. So I clearly did not remember the song, and
yeah.
Then the game came out, and I had played that, and then I played the versus the Goonies. The one was on Play Choice 10, and that same song still played, and
right.
I was like, okay, this is a pretty cool song. And when you're a kid, you're like, oh man, I wish they made a real song out of this. And sure enough, they
you're like, oh, they did it.
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
someone granted my wish.
Yeah. Little did I know that the movie came out before then, but yeah.
What an excellent arrangement too.
Mm-hmm.
Just like so well done.
For the 8-bit era.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there's some songs that I don't think Konami ever remade any of their games on the Super NES, but like I one game in particular that I remember that had really good music was the Ninja Gaiden series.
Mm-hmm.
They had some excellent music, and I know that's not Konami, but
I was gonna say, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, but I'm just bringing you to a point. I'm just bringing my point here. They when they brought it over to the Super Nintendo, they barely did anything to the graphics, and they updated the music, and it sounded terrible.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah, and I pretty much considered the game unplayable because of that.
Yeah, like we said, make or break.
Yeah, but then Konami, they do, they do their arrangements and everything, and they do really good arrangements of their songs. Sometimes it doesn't translate so well. Like I said, the big three songs from Castlevania, they translated very well on both Super Castlevania 4 and Dracula X. But in my opinion, the Genesis version, they didn't translate so well.
Matter of opinion.
Yeah, true. But then you got what was the other point I was going to make? Because it just slipped my mind. But
wasn't Symphony of the Night, was it?
Oh no, not Symphony of the Night. But like sometimes the most basic arrangement is usually the best one.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, although one thing I didn't learn until maybe about around the time that Portrait of the Ruin came out for the 3DS, or excuse me, for the DS, was that the Famicom version of Castlevania 2 had a different sounding soundtrack. So, how we're just talking about how Japan had a better Castlevania 3 soundtrack. Their Castlevania 2 soundtrack was pretty awful.
Really?
Yeah, they actually improved it on the for the American version because the game was disc.
Because they knew we wouldn't play it.
Right, exactly. The game was disc based, so I'm assuming that the processor for the music wasn't as great, and so if you listen to it, like it sounds very bland and very boring, and Konami. Konami, one thing that I think that they're known for, especially in the 8-bit era, is that freaking drum. That drum track that they use. They added that to the music, and they added a little more ambience to the to what was already there, and it's a much better improvement.
Yeah. It's amazing what little drums will do.
Yeah, I mean, they totally, like I said, just with any game, any Konami game, that drum The one I jokingly call the Konami drum.
Conundrum.
Yeah, it.
I like it.
It. They didn't use it so much in like the Castlevania games, but I mean they used it in I think Gradius 2. They definitely used it in Ninja Turtles, Skate or Die, which isn't a Konami game. I mean, the NES version was developed by Konami, but like I had pointed out, it was Electronic Arts that actually created that game.
Right.
And what was some other ones? I know Track and Field used it too. Just so many Konami games that made use of this drum. Other companies used it too, but not like Konami.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
they just. Yeah, that music, man.
Yeah, it was a. It got to a point where I was playing the game Power Blade, and when I first heard the music, I was like, "Is this a Konami game?" Because they utilize that same drum track. So not every company did it. I know Capcom never used it on any of their games that I am aware of.
Yeah, no, they had their own sound.
Yeah, Capcom had a distinct sound of its own. But with Konami, their music, one of their defining features is their music. So
straight up.
Yeah, and then when you get into the 16-bit era, I mean, it only got better. I was about to say bring up Prince of Persia, which was only published by Konami out here.
Right. Which is weird considering it's an American game.
Right. It was.
But I guess so. Skate or Die. So who knows?
Oh yeah. I know that with.
What do I know about games? Good night, everybody.
Good night. Speaking of good night, everybody, that's one game I never got to play, but when they had the licensed stuff, of course, we talked about Ninja Turtles. Was it Animaniacs, which I've never played? I actually just saw gameplay footage of it a couple of days ago. That looked like a fun game, and just like with a lot of Genesis games, Genesis version and the Super NES version were both completely different games.
Oh yeah.
But Tiny Toon Adventures, that was one that I liked on the Super Nintendo. I actually never played the Genesis version. Kind of wish I had now.
Yeah, but I've played the Super Nintendo one. I don't remember much about it anymore.
I remember it being hard as hell.
Can't you like change characters and they all have like different things that they can do?
No.
No?
No.
What am I thinking of? I swear to God, I remember being able to change into Dizzy Devil.
Maybe
and Plucky.
Maybe that was the NES version, which that was the version I never played. But
maybe
I do believe that being a feature in one of those games.
Yeah, I remember like if you needed to break block, you turn it into Dizzy Devil, and if you needed to like swim, you turn it into Plucky or something.
Yeah, the Super NES version was strictly Buster Bunny, and I remember that game got hard really quick. Like you got to the second stage and it was already hard as hell. There was a scene where like I could not get past the train. You had to run down this hill and outrun a train. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you have to kind of quote unquote destroy the train, and then you have to escape it with Montana. It was chaotic, and I remember when I got past that, I was like, yes. It was so, and by the time I got to the third stage, I was like, it took a lot out of me.
Wow.
You get to the third stage, and it's like, wow, this is so mellow compared to the rest of it, and you
mentally exhausted by Tiny Toons.
Exactly. And I finished the level, and I finished the third stage, and then it gets to the football game. The fourth stage is like a football game, which I hated that stage so bad. I don't even. That was the least memorable moment of that game. I don't remember what you had to do to pass it. I mean, win the game, but you know what I mean.
Right.
And then you got to the fifth stage, and once again, it just got insanely difficult. jumping on balloons and bubbles and everything. I think I only passed it once, and I got to the last stage, which felt impossible. I couldn't even get to Duck Vader by that point. So,
wow.
It was that was one of their licensed games that were really fun. Another one was of course, not Super Nintendo, but their Ninja Turtle games.
Yeah, man. I mean, let's just jump out of the home for a little bit here.
I remember wishing that arcade game would come home.
Yeah, like they basically started a revolution. Like before that, we had like Final Fight, I believe.
Yeah.
Already in the arcades, and maybe like Double Dragon, Bad Dudes.
Yeah, I think
stuff like that.
I think Double Dragon was one of the predecessors, I believe.
Yeah, and so I mean, those were fun for what they were. And then here comes Konami with this licensed game to this show that every 8-year-old boy loves, starring 4 characters. And you could be all 4 characters at the exact same time. It looks exactly like the show. And it's also super fun to play.
Yeah. No, it was...
how do you get any better than that?
I was crazy about that game. And I remember being in the mall, and back when malls actually had arcades.
The good old days.
And people playing it. And I remember the first time I ever saw that game, it was when they got to not Rocksteady, it was Bebop. And I'm like, and he goes, "You're dead, Toidles." I'm like, "Oh my god, they're dogging."
Mommy, the game talked to me.
Yeah. And I wasn't even playing. It was like these kids playing, and then one of the toasts was like, "Things ain't getting any prettier." And I remember one of the guys laughing so hard at that line. I didn't think that was funny, but
it's not even the funniest line, but okay.
But I just thought it was cool that they were talking, and now I hear it, and I hear that a lot of these voices,
they're kind of cheesy.
Yeah, they're cheesy. I don't think they were even the original voices. No,
I don't think so.
No, I mean,
but it was still well made. Like, you didn't care when you were playing. Like, there was just so many noises and things going on that you didn't care if it didn't actually sound like them, which is normally something that we're kind of sticklers for. Like, it needs to sound exactly like this.
Right.
Or I don't like it, but we didn't care. It was so much fun, and it's like well regarded. I don't think I've ever met anybody who did not like that game.
Oh, I know, right? And I have yet to show that version to my son. Unfortunately, I had it on Xbox, but I had to sell it. So, and he's not played it. His first exposure was to the game that used the same engine, The Simpsons.
Also a great game, which, again, we went into this before we lost our recording, that like, who would have thought to take The Simpsons and put them in a 4-player side-scrolling beat 'em up and that it wouldn't suck?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's still regarded as one of the best, or probably the best Simpsons game ever.
Yeah, and this is like back in Bart's I Carumba days.
Yeah, that was
like Simpsons hadn't even hit their golden period yet.
Yeah, I think they were only in like their 2nd or 3rd season when that game came out.
Yeah, and so here comes this Japanese company taking this American license, basing it. I mean, basically, yeah, they just kind of slapped it onto their fighting game, their beat 'em up engine, but it works so well. And it's not even that they slapped it directly onto like the Turtles engine, because on this one they added in the double teams, which was always probably the funnest thing about that game is finding out all the different combinations of double teams that you could do and seeing what they would do.
I remember I remember it was you who told me that you could have the entire family lift a police car.
Oh yeah.
And I remember I had not seen it, I think, until you and me and a couple of our cousins went out to Reno to play the game. I got to see that, because every time I tried to get people to do it in the arcade, nobody would follow me.
Yeah. Yeah, that game was all about teamwork. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that is my son. He loves that game, and because of that game, he actually likes The Simpsons, much to the displeasure of my ex. Yeah, he's
It's all right.
Let's go. Or I believe she was the one who didn't have the problem. Somebody had a problem with him watching The Simpsons, but yeah,
It's the early '90s all over again.
right, exactly.
Somebody think of the children. Actually, pardon me. I actually haven't shown The Simpsons to my kids yet either, but I've got my DVDs all displayed prominently. And so they always look at it and they're like, oh, The Simpsons, I want to watch that. I really like that show. You've never watched it. Yeah, but I really like it. I want to see it. So I should probably show them the game at some point.
Yeah, you know,
Which
watching. Mm-hmm.
we can't get a hold of.
What? Oh,
Without
without
emulating it, basically, yeah.
You're talking about an actual arcade
Simpsons.
machine.
Well, no, can you get the arcade game?
Yeah, it's downloadable on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox.
Oh, didn't they change it though?
I don't know if they did it for The Simpsons. I know they removed X-Men.
Bleh.
Yeah.
I thought they changed the music or something.
No, that was if you played the update, not the updated, but the second generation Ninja Turtle shows. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and 3 on the Xbox, GameCube, and PlayStation. Mm-hmm. They had Turtles 1 and Turtles 2 on there, but they changed the music.
Oh, okay. I could have sworn there was something wrong with the Simpsons one too. Otherwise, I probably would have gotten it.
Yeah, no, there wasn't anything wrong with the Simpsons one. I mean, with the arcade game, you could set it. You can even set it to the Japanese version, which is a little different. But yeah, I mean, the only port that I know of outside of the arcade game and the direct ports to the home consoles here recently was a PC port, which I heard was garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, back then PC ports not very good at all.
Yeah, but I think the game is still available. I'm not 100% sure because I downloaded that the day it came out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check on that.
Yeah, because it's a game that to this day, I mean, I let my son play it about 3 years ago when it came out, and to this day he'll ask every now and then, it's like, hey Dad, can we play The Simpsons? And he always wants me to play with him, and he always wants me to do the double teaming and whatnot. And sometimes he'll play the game alone, and because now who needs quarters, and he'll finish the game on his own.
Wow.
Yeah. And wow, that game had terrible voice acting. I think they only got the main characters. By main characters, I'm talking about the family.
Right. Yeah.
Because he listened to Mr. Smithers or Mr. Burns, and they sound awful.
Oh, really?
It's
I
clearly
paid attention.
It's clearly a Japanese man doing the voices.
Oh, now I have to get this game.
Yeah, look into your grave, suckers. It sounds.
I gotta hear that. Definitely gotta hear that.
It sounds bad. But yeah, that game, and that game also had some pretty good especially
just
now
talking about it, the music's in my head right now.
Right, and now that you're in, now that they're well, again, I don't know if they're still downloadable, but that you can play them at home. Of course, I can hear the music better now, so I have a better idea of what they sound like. And of course, people upload the soundtracks to YouTube now.
Yeah. No, the only Konami beat 'em up I have is I have the X-Men game.
Yeah, that was a good game too.
Yeah,
that one I remember when I saw you could play 6 players. I was like, no way! It's like
that was the one that stood out in the arcades for its dual TV setup.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a huge cabinet.
It was massive, if you're lucky to find one of those massive ones.
Yeah.
Just to have everybody playing, it's just an awesome experience.
Well, that's why we always went to Nevada, because that's where we would see everybody playing that game. Our parents would go gamble, we'd go to the arcade.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's how we did it.
Yeah, we had to make those quarters last.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Kids these days don't have to worry about at all.
I know, right? I remember going to, or fighting the bosses, nothing moves the blob. Or, what's the more popular one? X-Men, welcome to die.
Welcome to die.
Yeah. Apparently...
I think my kid had asked me about that at one time, because I did let him play that one. And he's like, why does Magneto say welcome to die? And what's funny is I think he brought it up while I was showing him the 90s X-Men cartoon.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I think he quoted, it's Magneto, welcome to die.
Oh, that's awesome. Like he didn't say
pretty cool.
He didn't say die X chicken.
No.
Or,
what is that?
Or I am Magneto, master of magnet. Oh, that game was full of memorable lines, and
oh my god, written by the Resident Evil script writers.
I know, right? It's a weapon. It's really powerful. Okay, we did this in the Halloween episode. But what's it? They, you know that they redubbed the voices for the re-release.
Yeah, I'd heard that.
Yeah, I mean, good for them. They got like people who sound just like almost like them. I the one particular voice that I noticed the big difference in was Professor X. So,
X-Men, go and save the city.
Yeah, he sounded kind of distinct. He sounded close, but especially when he goes X-Men, and he's trying to get in touch with them telepathically before you go into the cave. Mm-hmm. And I remember that sounding very different. But I remember again going back to the music for that game. I was so hoping that they'd have a soundtrack for that because I love the music from that game. Except I will say that the jungle music kind of got annoying after a while.
That is one of those games where I don't remember the music too much just because it was just so much going on.
Yeah.
I could barely hear it.
Well, I remember the cabinets, the speakers on there was so loud.
Yeah, it was a loud machine. It stood out.
Yeah, and even so, with the arcade, it's still possible it could get drowned out and whatnot. So,
the only thing I could probably ever hear above that normally was the other game, the Simpsons game, Lisa and Bart running around with their tag team. That's the only other sound that would ever really stick out in an arcade. I'm not even going to replicate it here.
Oh, yeah.
Here, let's cut in the sound. There you go.
There you go.
That sound.
Yeah, quite annoying. Satisfying but annoying. But there were some games, I don't know the names of them, but there were at least 2 other beat 'em ups in the arcade that I cannot remember for the life of me, and I know one was a 3-player game.
There were Konami games?
Yeah, and the only reason I remember one in particular is because I remember this billboard, and my cousin and I used to laugh at it all the time because it was a nude woman covering, her breasts, and it said, "Are you covered?" And it was for some insurance company, but it was a Konami game.
Oh my gosh, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, and I cannot remember the name, so if our one of 2 listeners is listening out there, if you can find that out.
Just tweet us at CrossPlat Show and let us know the answer.
Yeah, exactly, because I cannot remember for the life of me what that game was.
Wow, huh. Yeah, I can't think of any other Konami ones. Capcom had a few. Mm-hmm. Sega had one that I was actually talking to my son about today, oddly enough.
Streets of Rage?
No, in the arcade.
Oh, in the arcade. What did Sega have?
There was one.
That one.
There was one. A really special one.
And I can't think of it. So it wasn't Sonic the Fighters, was it?
Moonwalker.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that now. I remember you making jokes that, hey, wouldn't it be cool if Michael Jackson died? And he went, hoo hoo. I'm not even gonna try to emulate what he sounds like, but
I made quite a few jokes about that game.
yeah.
It was funny, no, because we were at GameStop today, and so my oldest, he's going through like some of the used games, and there was some Michael Jackson game that came out a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I don't remember, some Michael Jackson dance game.
The Michael Jackson Experience.
Yeah, and so he likes Michael Jackson, so he pulled it out and he's like, "Look, it's a Michael Jackson game." I'm like, yeah, we're not gonna worry about that one. There is actually a Michael Jackson game that came out a long time ago that you probably would like. Maybe I could track that down for you, but we're gonna just put this one away.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if you've ever watched the only time I've ever seen that game in action. If you ever watched Nostalgia Critic, he does he has footage of himself playing the game. It's hilarious.
Oh my gosh!
But it looks fun. That's the thing. It does actually look fun. I don't see myself playing.
I think
it.
I've played one of them dancing games before, and I was like, yeah, no, this is not my bag.
Well, what I think is funny is that they came out with the Michael Jackson Experience, and like Ubisoft, there's a Konami link here. Don't worry. Ubisoft tried to make this into a franchise, and they came out with the Black Eyed Peas Experience. Because they're so popular nowadays.
I'm sure that sold gangbusters.
Oh yeah, I think it's the only game I saw when I was working at Toys R Us that I saw selling for $12.98 brand new.
You know what blew my mind, though, is I just found out that Fergie was the voice of Lucy for a little while. When she was a little girl.
Lucy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just heard about that, too. You were watching that cartoon Hangover, weren't you?
I was.
Okay, yeah, I just listened to that myself. Yeah, I did not know that. But either way, they
still don't like her.
Yeah, no. She was also on Kids Incorporated.
Yeah, that's not winning any points.
Moving on. For anyone who remembers that show.
Yeah.
And then they tried to make another one called the Hip Hop Experience, and I'm just like, let it die already. It's like, how are you going to do the Hip Hop Experience when the Black Eyed Peas Experience didn't sell? So, well, let's try hip hop. Okay.
Just generic hip hop.
Yeah, no, it didn't work. Sold
the Yin Yang Twins Experience.
Hey, I would kill to see the MC Hammer Experience.
Oh my gosh. How have they not? That
would be freaking awesome.
Yeah,
Ubisoft, if you're listening, do it.
Yeah, that's a free one. You can have that one on us.
Yeah. The only reason I'm even bringing up Ubisoft and the Konami connection is because Ubisoft managed to do the port of the Ninja Turtles arcade game, the original one, and keep it faithful. I mean, not faithful. It was a direct port of the arcade game. And so they were like, oh, this did well, so let's do Turtles in Time Reshelled. No.
Can we not?
No.
Don't ever re anything.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, good.
I looked at that. I think the only decent thing about that game is they managed to make April look damn sexy in that opening. That's about it.
Alrighty.
They kept her still in the yellow jumpsuit and everything, but she looks good. I'm sorry. She looks freaking good.
I'll have to look that one up later.
Yeah.
Turtles After Dark.
Right. Because that's what you're going to be playing, because it's a very dark game, and I'm not talking about thematically. It's just...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Couldn't turn up the colors there, huh?
No, it looks so boring, And it's like, why couldn't you just do what you did with the first game?
Yeah, they flew a little too close to the sun at that point.
Yeah, and I think by that time they were using the voiceovers for the voice cast of the 2003 show. But it's like,
that's odd.
If you look at this, because I've seen a couple of episodes of the 2003 show. I actually really do want to see like this show in its entirety. but it is so much more on a serious level than the original Ninja Turtles was. So to hear that cast going, my toes,
Yeah.
it didn't sound right.
That don't work.
Yeah, so...
That don't work. It would actually probably work better for them to take the current cast.
It may.
That's something I would. That's something I would play if they were to reskin that game with the current cast, because they pretty much have introduced all those characters.
Right? Didn't
they all look different now? But
didn't Bebop and Rocksteady just make their appearance on the show?
Yeah, they finally showed up halfway through season 3.
Yeah. So.
And even then, their story is actually kind of sad.
Really? Well, don't tell me, because I plan on.
I'm not going to. I'm telling you that much just to get you to watch the show and get to that point. Because
we're getting way off topic.
Yeah, probably time to put a linchpin in this, actually.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
we could probably leave that part out.
It's fine. We'll get back into it.
I mean,
we're still doing it to part 2 of this, yeah?
Yeah, we're still going to get into part 2. We didn't get into as much in depth as we did last week, but we'll...
Although I think this conversation went a little bit better anyways.
Yeah, and plus there's not me on the table so much.
Yeah. There was a lot of distraction.
Yeah, well, hopefully... I'm starting to discuss stuff that we're supposed to discuss outside of the podcast, but...
Okay, fine. So, at this point, I'll say that's our show for this week. Thanks for listening. If you're trying to find us online, you can find us on Twitter at CrossPlat Show. We're also on Facebook, cross-platform show, I believe, and pretty soon we will have that YouTube presence that we promise is coming.
Right. One thing I do ask of our listeners, we would greatly appreciate constructive criticism. Obviously, we're just starting out. Any suggestions or any ideas you may want to share, any questions you guys may have, please send them our way as well. Definitely looking forward to hearing your opinions and whatnot.
Yeah, we'll definitely take note, and feel free to keep the conversation going if you want in the comment section, wherever you find it at, or on Twitter. It's probably the number one place where you can find us. Anyways, I think this is as far as we're going to go for today.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Until next time.
See you later.